because you're using the actual satellite image texture to the roofs, as well as what I mentioned before. You have here, you still have flat roofs, but you also have gable and hip roofs, which just makes it way better than just have the cubes.
Would you be able to use aerial photography from multiple angles to map the facades of buildings as well? Or is that strictly procedurally based that you'd have to manually extract and put into your rule set?
That's something I guess that we're aiming at the 2010 version. So
that's the big thing in the 2010 version. Yeah, exactly. That's image-based modeling. You don't have to write rules. That's coming with the next major version of the city engine.
Okay. But actually, I guess you're probably talking about these oblique images from the windows.
Your aerial photography, where you're at an angle looking down rather than from a straight down view, like a satellite image would be.
Yeah, and actually, as I said, the new texture options, they just offer new possibilities to set up the UV coordinates. So you can now easily do a world projection on all buildings from the top, or define your coordinate systems, how to project these. So I haven't tried this yet, but I didn't think of it yet actually, to use the oblique images to project from a different angle. Might work. I'm not really sure if this might work, but definitely, with the 2010, the idea is you will just take your facade photograph from an oblique image, or probably just from a street view image. And then it will analyze it, detect the floors, detect the tiles, detect the windows, and create the rule file for you.
One of the things I think SketchUp is doing now is allowing you to use Google Street Views to map straight onto the buildings.
Yeah, might be. Of course, they have all the they have access to all the data, which we don't.
It's a great feature.
As you can probably see also here, all the texturing, it's possible to not only map some.
The SketchUp guys here at the Autodesk University?
I'm not sure actually. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there are some different facade textures that we're using here, and they differ in width, they have different number of tiles, different number of floors, but still using the rules, it's possible to map them correctly to the building. So it will take depending on the height, it will select the correct texture here. It will make sure that no windows are cut when textures are made. So it's just in general the texturing features of 2009.3 have been improved so that all that stuff can be done in a better way.
Maybe you can also show, that's not originally a feature of 2003, but reporting stuff, how you can define whether it's a commercial or residential building, because our customers are using that a lot to see. You have different restrictions, like you say, in our city there has to be a residential area, 30%, and 70% could be commercial, and people have to report that, and we have a very neat way to show that within the city engine.
Yeah, so what I did is just assigning a different rule file again, which has this parameter here to do the use analysis. So what we do here is we have additional data in every footprint which says how is this building used, commercial, residential, and so on. And all you do is then, color the building with this use type. So in this case here, we have a residential building. As I said, this value coming from the shape or from the OSM data. Call it in green. Commercial buildings, call it in blue. So this is to get a quick overview over this area, how it's been used. And then the feature that Dominic was mentioning is the reports. So this stuff is automatically then added to these different types, and you have percentage of the different land usages. So with all my selected buildings now here in this area, we have 64% commercial usage. And of course this stuff can then be exported and used otherwise.
And that's very useful for planning if you want to evolve a part of it and say how many commercial sites you want to have, how many residential areas. That's really a feature that our customer really loves, and then can automatically be exported into Excel and to give the data further, and then also to make further progress.
Yeah, of course you're again, you're totally free because this is also specified in the rule what you wanna report. So in this case, we just report like let's say we count the number of commercial buildings, but you could also count the area that's used for commercial buildings, or the volume, or the number of floors that's used like for retail space or anything. So if you have like a more complex building model that has floors or even different rooms, so you can count all this together and get a very, very quick report on your generated city, how these numbers compare to each other. And if you have not enough retail space, quickly change the parameter to make 2 instead of 1 retail floor, get the result immediately.
Can your base map have elevations, so you could have hills and whatnot, and it'll assign the buildings accordingly based on the elevation of the terrain?
Yeah, it will. Like the first example I showed you with the racetrack, did have this elevation. So what you do is we use a grayscale image to describe the elevation. If you generate the street network, if you draw streets, this is all following the terrain. If you create the lots, then they will be on the correct terrain. In the race example, I even used the elevation data of the underlying terrain to define if you need to do a pillar on the streets. So you remember the bridge.
Yeah.
So because you know that okay, terrain here goes down, so I need to do a pillar because otherwise the bridge is floating.
Right.
So that data is in here. Probably.
Apropos floating, maybe we can show also the Venice example, which
this is a very, very quick example, but just to know that you're not very limited to flat surfaces. So this is some sci-fi stuff here that we've been playing around. So this is a complex imported surface, and on every face of this surface there's a building generated. So, and of course you can.
I'm not sure how to live over there, but it's sci-fi.
It's quite nice, and up here I guess buildings are upside down. So.
And with the report function, we could now define how high the rent would be on different places. So if you have to live like on a place which is in this stage, the rent should be lower than on a usual place. So we could play it around with that.
Yeah, no, it's just a short intermezzo. The Venice example. This is similar to this GIS example I showed you before, with the exception that we only had street data available here from OpenStreetMap. And again, so here are the streets. So we have the exact waterways here.
So it's from OpenStreetMap directly imported.
We are going to create the shapes here. So you see we have probably select here, select objects and same here. So we have all the streets here, and they are tagged as well. So this one is a waterway, and another one. So this is a street. So they will evaluate to something different. So let me generate a part of the city here. We will now do like simple streets on the street shapes. It will do nothing on the waterways because it will just show the water below, and it will do buildings or vegetation on the other parts. And this is you can create this lookalike city very, very quickly by just using OpenStreetMap data for the streets, right? Generating the shapes for the streets and the building footprints, and then using one rule file with some variation, generate the buildings. And